Chuck Wilder here with Paul Stern up there near the Hollywood Hills at the network. And we're live across America on this radio station, a cable system, and around the world at crntalk.com. Today's guest, Marita Noon, author of Energy Freedom, Executive Director for Energy Makes America Great. She's a writer for redstate.com, breitbart.com, looking at her latest commentary, Deepwater Horizon. 5 years later, lessons learned. In the second hour, Joe Gazzardi, Californians for Population Stabilization Senior Writing Fellow, and their National Media Director, his latest, and Here Comes Sawyer, There Goes Your Job. In the news, a fleet of Iranian warships arrived near the southern coast of Yemen today in a move likely to add greater tension in the developing U.S.-Iranian standoff in that region, just days after the United States announced it would send its own warships to Yemen in order to prevent Iran from smuggling weapons to terror forces fighting there. A flotilla of Iranian destroyers docked in the same area. Iran's military moves likely to increase tensions between the two countries as each seeks to bolster opposing sides in the fight currently unfolding in Yemen. An Iranian fleet, including a destroyer warship and a helicopter-carrying warship, arrived in the waters off the southern tip of Yemen today. The warships will protect Iran's cargo ships, according to the Iranian state-controlled media, and also the oil tankers against pirates. Ahmad Razi Portdastan, commander of Iran's ground forces, lashed out at the U.S. foreign policy and rhetoric in a statement broadcast on CNN's newsroom. Portdastan said, according to CNN's translation, quote, "At the moment we consider the United States to be a threat to us because its politics and actions are threatening to us. We would like the U.S. to change its rhetoric and tone of voice so that our nation could have more trust in the U.S. military leadership." Well, as the Arab world melts down and lacks a traditional epicenter of strength and power, Egypt, Iraq, Syrian, Iran is rising. The argument here is not that Iran is taking over the Middle East, but in its zone of influence, a zone critical to the United States. Syria, Iraq, the Gulf, Yemen, Lebanon. It is expanding its influence, not contracting. Washington doesn't play this kind of game well. It is tripping all over itself trying to figure out how to combat ISIS in Syria and yet not empower al-Assad. How to combat ISIS in Iraq without favoring the Shia-dominated government and alienating, that is, Iraqi Sunnis. No answer on that. No answer on Assad. And how to backstop the Saudis in Yemen without enabling them to make matters worse through their airstrikes. No answer. Iran has a much easier time managing contradictions. Indeed, it can use the threat of ISIS to keep the Americans away from the weakening their ally al-Assad, as well as expand its influence into Iraq under the guise of fighting a battle of mutual interest. Battle group naval assets to the Gulf of Aden notwithstanding, the United States is being outfoxed, not outgunned. Don't expect these U.S. ships to stop those of Iran. As State Department spokesperson, and she's still there, Marie Harf said, quote, "There are reports about these U.S. ships that have been moved, and I want to be very clear just so that no one has the wrong impression. They are not there to intercept Iranian ships. The purpose of moving them is only to ensure that the shipping lanes remain open and safe. I think there was some misreporting and confusion on this. I just want to be very clear that the purpose is not to do anything in the term of those Iranian ships." Oh, and also, we'll be pulling out at 12:30 from the north end of Afghanistan or Iraq or what. You know how they always tell you what they're going to do. Well, now they're telling you, we're not going to do anything. Carly Fiorina says if she runs for president, she'll take identity politics away from Hillary Clinton. It was hard to tell who was more taken back Former CEO Carly Fiorina, or the reporters assembled to question her, when one of them prefaced his question with a comment, quote, "I've never met a presidential candidate who had fingernail polish on." Without missing a beat, Fiorina said, well, there's always a first. The remark, retro as it was, served to elicit an interesting response as she mused about what it would be like if Hillary Clinton were to face a female nominee. Fiorina has presented herself as the only person in the current GOP field who won't really have to worry about inadvertently launching a war on women and the lone foil to Clinton's, quote, first woman president claim. She wouldn't be able to play the gender card, Fiorina said. Clinton would have to run on her track record, not identity politics. Oh, put that one aside. There's a problem. Hey, by the way, I always like to point out, when your president gets caught in another fib, so here's the story. President Barack Obama will once again stop short of calling the 1915 massacre of Armenians a genocide, prompting anger and disappointment from those who have been pushing him to fulfill a campaign promise and use the politically fraught term on the 100th anniversary of the killings this week. Officials decided against it after opposition from some at the State Department and the Pentagon. After more than a week of internal debate, top administrative officials discussed the final decision with Armenian American leaders yesterday before making it public. The White House said the officials pledged that the United States would use this Friday's centennial anniversary, quote, to urge a full, frank, and just acknowledgement of the facts. That's what you heard. Urge a full, frank, and just acknowledgement of the facts. That language echoed the administration's 5 previous statements on the anniversary, as well as those of previous administrations, but it did not use the word genocide, as many had hoped. Now, pardon me, here's the fibber. As a senator and presidential candidate, President Obama did describe the killings of Armenians as genocide and said the U.S. government had a responsibility to recognize it as such. Now, as a candidate, keep that in mind, as a candidate, January 2008, Obama pledged to recognize the genocide at some of his campaign. The current U.S. ambassador to the United Nations, Samantha Power, recorded a nearly 5-minute video at the time imploring, and here it is, listener, imploring Armenian Americans to vote for Obama precisely because he's going to keep his word on this issue and he's going to call it genocide. But Obama has never used that description since taking office. Does that surprise you? No. Hey, with swampy wetlands and alligators as the backdrop, your president, President Obama, will be using Florida's Everglades to warn of the damage that climate change is already inflicting on the nation's environmental treasures, and to hammer the political opponents he says are doing far too little about it. His trip to the Everglades today, timed to coincide with Earth Day. Boy, I hope you were here yesterday. Oh, yeah. If you were, you got a whole bunch of global warming in your ear. Anyway, trying to coincide with Earth Day as he attempts to connect the dots between the theoretical argument about carbon emissions with his climate change agenda under attack in Washington and courthouses across the United States. He sought this week to force Americans to envision a world in which cherished natural wonders fall victim to pollution. Now then, people checked into this, and Obama's Earth Day trip to the Everglades will cover 1,836 miles round trip. And on Earth Day, Consumer Day, watch out for pollution. Air Force One will consume 9,180 gallons of fuel. What'd you say? 9,180 gallons. The United States Drug Enforcement Administrative Chief will step down within weeks, according to the Obama administration, as a congressional panel planned to examine whether DEA agents divulged secrets at sex parties that Colombian drug lords may have staged. Michelle Lionheart will leave as DEA administrator in mid-May, according to a statement from the Justice Department. Quote, here it is. I want to express my appreciation to Michelle, not only for her leadership of the DEA since 2007, but for her 35 years of extraordinary service to the DEA. Eric Holder. You know, they're going to kick her butt out of there because she gave them 35 years of extraordinary service. Great leadership. Well, Lionheart was grilled, you see, in a congressional hearing last week about the parties attended by prostitutes, which took place in Colombia between 2001 and 2005. Now, the DEA did not investigate these parties until years and years later. Now, the Justice Department did not give a reason for Lionheart's decision to retire. You hear that word? Retire. A spokeswoman for the Republican majority of the House Representatives Committee on Oversight Government Reform said the panel's leaks inquiry would also examine the culture and leadership of the DEA and other investigative agencies. Lionheart's testimony at the hearing, supplemented by 2 U.S. government reports, raised concern among lawmakers that agents might have leaked secrets about their investigations that found their way to the Colombian drug lord. But, you know, it's like the VA scandal, the IRS scandal, and this scandal. No action taken. Retire. They're going to retire now. Look at all those VA people that retired. And here's an interesting thing. National Review's Julian K. Melicor reported today that along with Al Sharpton and Melissa Harris Perry, 2 more MSNBC stars are not paying their fair share of taxes. Torrey Neblett, co-host of The Cycle, owes the IRS a cool $59,000. Joanne Reed, former anchor, contributor to the Lean Forward Network, owes about $5,000 in back taxes. Melissa Harris Perry owes the IRS $70,000, and Al Sharpton's tax bills upwards of $3 to $4 million. But boy, oh howdy, isn't it wonderful that if you're in a certain group or on a certain network, you don't have to pay taxes? Al Sharpton, $3 to $4 million. As long as your politics are correct, if you are a leftist in good standing, no one in the media or the left cares about your hypocrisy. We're going to continue. Marita Noon coming up next.
What are you going to do with your old car? You can try selling it, you could junk it, or you could donate it to Heritage for the Blind. Your car will be towed away for free, and your donation is tax deductible. Just call 1-800-785-9618. Heritage for the Blind accepts cars, vans, trucks, and boats. It doesn't matter if your vehicle runs or not. It will be towed away for free, and you'll be supporting those that need help. Heritage for the Blind is a nonprofit nonprofit organization that helps the visually impaired live fuller lives. Call right now to donate your car, and as a special thank you for calling, you'll receive a free 3-day vacation voucher to many exciting locations. Call Heritage for the Blind right now. 1-800-785-9618. Donating is easy, and your vehicle is towed away for free. Plus, you'll get a free vacation voucher. Call now, 1-800-785-9618. That's 1-800-785-9618.
Kaanapali Beach Hotel, Maui's Hawaiian Hotel.
Located in the heart of Maui's premier resort, Kaanapali Beach Hotel is officially recognized as Hawaii's most Hawaiian hotel and the #1 best value in Hawaii. With a range of accommodations and affordable dining options, this is the ideal setting to turn Hawaiian dreams into lifelong memories. Live Hawaiian entertainment every evening, free year-round children's programs, weekly arts and crafts fairs, welcome breakfast, and departure kukui lei ceremonies add to the value. Swim in the whale-shaped pool. Indulge in the fabulous spa and hotel salon. Enjoy Hawaiian hospitality at its best at the Kaanapali Beach Hotel. Call 800-262-8450 or go to kvhmaui.com. That's kvhmaui.com. Aloha.
Kaanapali Beach Hotel, Maui's Hawaiian Hotel.
Homeowners, there's never been a more affordable time to help protect your home and loved ones. You can now get a $100 Visa card from Protect Your Home, your authorized ADT dealer, with the installation of a new ADT monitored system. Call Protect Your Home today at 1-866-669-8954. That's 1-866-669-8954. Call now. 36-month monitoring contract required. General terms and conditions apply. Visit protectyourhome.com/terms.
Hi, this is Warren Eckstein. Get the jump on fleas before they get the jump on you. Cedarside Original from Cedarside.com is a must-have to eliminate fleas and ticks. Cedarside.com's products are made with 100% natural cedar oil and are safe for kids, pets, and adults. Cedarside's original organic bug spray repels and kills mosquitoes, fleas, ticks, flies, ear mites, mange, and more. Order some today. Go to Cedarside.com. Use coupon code Warren at checkout to get free shipping, or call 800-842-1464 and mention my name, Warren Eckstein, Cedarside for people, pets, and premises.
Everybody's talking at me.
CRN Digital Talk. Chuck Wilder here, and let's see, I was trying to find my facts. Did I lose my facts again? Yes, I did. I think it was 1,980 gallons. Somebody was asking me, how much Air Force One was using today, and I said, I got to keep that aside because it is a very good reason, to keep. Oh, here it is. Did I say 1,980? Oh, excuse me. It's 9,180 gallons of fuel for Air Force One, so that the president can tell you how you should watch out for the atmosphere. And just in time, here's a lady that's going to ruin part of his Earth Day. Her name is Marita Noon, author of Energy Freedom. She serves as the executive director for Energy Makes America Great Incorporated and the companion educational organization, and that's the Citizens Alliance for Responsible Energy. Just think of CARE, C-A-R-E, Citizens Alliance for Responsible Energy. She is also a columnist for RedState.com, Breitbart.com, regular contributor to the Energy Tribune, Conservative Action Alerts, and EPAabuse.com. Her previous books include the bestsellers Wired That Way and Communication Plus. Of course, her latest book, Energy Freedom. Marita Noon, how are you?
I am mighty fine, Chuck. It's always a treat to talk to you.
And you're not on a cell phone because you are in Las Vegas.
That I am. I am at my mother's house visiting Mom in Las Vegas.
Tell Mom I said hello, and I certainly hope, the weather's fine here on Earth Day. And, the sky is falling, and guess what? Remember Deepwater Horizon, the BP tragedy down there in Louisiana, Gulf of Mexico? Well, I'll tell you what. It was 87 days, right? Oil flowing freely into the waters of the Gulf of Mexico. It was described, I think I have this right, the largest marine spill, the worst environmental disaster in the U.S. history. And now we get an update 5 years later. Let's talk about some of the predictions, though, Marita, that they were talking about. I mean, it was going to be out of commission for, 40, 50, 100 years?
Yeah, the whole planet was going to be ruined as a result of that. I mean, the predictions were definitely cataclysmic as to what was going to happen as a result of the Deepwater Horizon accident that took place 5 years ago this week.
Boy. I'm looking here, let's see, Matt Simmons. Who is he? He's, tell me a little bit about Matt. What do you know about Matt Simmons?
Matt's kind of an interesting character. He wrote a book about peak oil, and he was definitely an alarmist in the peak oil camp. But that means that we're going to run out of oil soon, and so we have to stop using oil. And he actually made a bet with Julian Simon about what the price of oil was going to be. I believe it was in 2010, and he predicted it was going to be $200 a barrel. And I may be wrong on that year, but he predicted it was going to be $200 a barrel, and it wasn't even half that.
Would that be about $8 a gallon or $5 a gallon, something like that?
Well, his prediction was based on a barrel. But if it was $200 a barrel, we'd be looking at about $8 a gallon for gasoline.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
And he died suddenly, and I think it was 2010 when he died, so that wouldn't have been when the bet was. But he died suddenly, and so never paid up on that bet. But at the time...
Well, wait a minute. You know, if he died, if he was saying it was going to happen in 2010 and he had to pay up in 2010...
The bet was in 2010. Yeah. He couldn't have died and made a prediction about Deepwater Horizon. You're right. Obviously, I don't have that date firmly in my head, but conceptually, I know who he is.
It's a good way... what I'm trying to say, it's a good way to get out of paying off your debt.
Yeah, die suddenly. Make a big bet, and then
you know,
when it looks like you're going to lose, die.
We're going to take a break here and come right back, and lots of time with Marita Noon to talk about Deepwater Horizon. 5 years later, lessons learned. And you're going to find out what the situation is down there now. And Marita, by the way, she just currently came back from that area eating lobsters and all kinds of things. Interesting lady. She travels all over the place, yes. How lucky she is. And don't forget, Marita, now that we're in this break, $5 on number 17, straight up. Okay, you got it. Marita Noon, author of Energy Freedom, and it's responsibleenergy.org, responsibleenergy.org, redstate.com, breitbart.com. Be right back.
This is the Mike Huckabee Report for Wednesday. I'm Mike Huckabee. What's the one thing worse than hearing from the IRS? That story next. Looking forward to your tax refund? Well, so are identity thieves who steal refunds by filing fraudulent tax returns. Last year alone, they stole more than an estimated $5 billion from hardworking Americans just like you. Once an identity thief gets a hold of your tax forms, watch out. They know that virtually all the information they need to steal your identity and even your life savings is right there. Help protect yourself with LifeLock Ultimate Plus. LifeLock Ultimate Plus provides protection for your Social Security number, bank accounts, investments, even the equity in your home. And while no one can stop all identity theft and nobody can monitor every single business, LifeLock Ultimate Plus provides their most comprehensive identity theft protection available. If you're filing taxes this year, especially if you're filing online, do what I did and get LifeLock Ultimate Plus. Visit lifelock.com/Huckabee now or call and use promo code Huckabee to save 10% on your LifeLock Ultimate Plus membership. Call 1-800-240-LOCK, 800-240-LOCK, 800-240-LOCK. My best-selling book, God, Guns, Grits, and Gravy, in the bookstores and available online. Get your copy today. There's a new IRS scam going around. I know because the scammers targeted two of my writers. They're a married couple who got a call from someone claiming to be the IRS. They were told they'd failed to respond to calls and a certified letter. and were being sued for tax fraud. Their bank accounts would be frozen and an arrest warrant would be served, unless, of course, they wanted to settle the debt over the phone. Luckily, they know how to expose hoaxes. So while they were on the line, they Googled the caller's phone number and found it was associated with an IRS scam. They made a suggestion to the scammers that I can't repeat on the radio and then hung up. This scam is so widespread, the IRS now has a special link for it to their website. So how do you know if a call from the IRS is real? Well, the IRS contacts people only by mail. If you ever get an email or a call, it's a scam. The unrepeatable suggestion, that's optional. The reason that people fall victim to scams like this so easily is because virtually everyone already lives in fear of hearing from the IRS. The very foundation of America is that government should fear the people. The people shouldn't fear the government. Unfortunately, we've created a tax authority that's turned that concept on its head. It's taken on the power to find Americans guilty until proven innocent, to act as judge and jury, to pry into our most private financial decisions, and to seize citizens' property without due process of law. It's one of the many reasons why I advocate the fair tax instead of just flatter rates. Because as the IRS political targeting scandal proved, the IRS can't be trusted with that kind of destructive power over Americans. A reminder that May 1st will mark the final radio broadcast of the Huckabee Report, but I hope you'll continue keeping up with my daily commentaries, plus much more online at HuckabeeExclusive.com. And finally, it's one of the biggest product recalls in memory. Bluebell Creameries is recalling all of its products from stores in nearly half the United States. The Texas-based company is pulling everything it makes from the shelves. Ice cream, frozen yogurt, frozen snack bars, you name it. The decision came after 3 people in Texas were found to have the same strain of Listeria bacteria that was linked to Bluebell products in Kansas, where 3 people have died. The family-owned company said they're heartbroken, but they want to make sure that no customer's health is endangered. The cost hasn't been calculated yet. For some companies, this could be a death blow, but crisis experts say that if any company can survive it, it's Bluebell. They've built up a lot of goodwill over the years. Besides, Texans love Bluebell ice cream so much, they'll probably be less panicked by the Listeria scare than by going to the store and finding no Bluebell in the freezer. And this is the Mike Huckabee Report.
Everybody's talking at me.
CRN with Chuck Wilder, with my guest, Marita Noon, author of Energy Freedom, and we're looking at her commentary, Deepwater Horizon, 5 years later, lessons learned, talking about this gentleman there, where was his name? Well, my goodness. Isn't that, Matt Simmons, yes, there it is. Matt Simmons. He predicted that this crude oil from the BP disaster was going to float all the way to Ireland. Boy, they do know how to overreact, don't they?
They certainly do. Never let a disaster go to waste.
Well, and then comes Mr. Obama, and he's doing his offshore drilling. The moratorium that he put on immediately. From the one accident, he immediately says, "We're gonna stop it all." And you and I know, and a lot of people know, and they've learned every year a little bit more about how, boy, did that make his day. Anytime this president can shut down any oil, gas production, it's a good day for him.
Yeah, definitely. In fact, there's new reports out just this week, kind of unrelated, but it goes along with your comment, that he's proposing increased royalties from companies for drilling oil on federal land. So, while the companies are already laying off people and in bad shape due to the low price of oil, this president has come out and said, we're going to increase the cut the government gets when you're drilling on federal lands. And it's so just like you said, anytime he has an opportunity to hurt the industry, he's all for it.
Well, he's definitely not going to like this report that you've got, and she doesn't make this stuff up. For example, Science Magazine, very reliable.
Yes.
they say that despite 13 miles of the coast that suffered from this heavy oiling, so to speak, what happened?
Well, there were definitely some impacts, especially at the time of the accident itself. But what we see now, 5 years later, is we see that the wildlife, for the most part, has recovered. The shrimp crop, for example, is actually bigger than it was before the spill. And so we actually see that the impacts have not been at all what were predicted. The businesses are back. I cite one story in there of a business, and that story is from the International Business Times. But it's a company that sold dried shrimp. Doesn't personally sound appetizing to me, but they had a very good business. They'd been in business for generations. It was in its third generation of family ownership. And this business had been hurt badly from the two earthquakes, Katrina and Rita, and they were just coming back from that when, as the owner is cited as saying, along comes BP. They virtually shut their doors forever, almost. They laid off all their employees. But now, 5 years later, the employees are back.
Yep. They spent $28 billion.
Yeah, and they got a settlement from BP. They did get, this company did get a $106,000 settlement from BP, which I'm sure was well warranted because, that was what allowed them to not go out of business, was that settlement from BP. But after
and
that,
Marita, real quick, before it slips my mind, talking about, how they got an award, they blame BP. I think it's in your article later on where it talks about at that time, the average Joe that's working on a drilling rig out in the ocean, they couldn't shut down everything. They didn't have the authority to do it. But now they've come up with new safety guards, I guess might be the word, or safety measures, where anybody can shut down something whenever they see something going wrong. Now, real quick, with this ecosystem, is it called ecosystem? Yeah. You got the Environmental Recovery Restoration, Bloomberg Business, and the spill, quote, didn't do lasting damage. And then like Science Magazine, Nature has bounced back. Scientists have found no evidence that have caused fish numbers to drop in the Louisiana waters. Even the ants are coming back to stay. Well, that may not be too happy.
Yeah, well, but it is part of that entire ecosystem, and but it's true. There is still, it's 5 years. There's still restoration being done, and so forth. But when you look at it, the bottom line is Mother Nature is far more resilient than it's just not as fragile. And I think the lesson there is that same lesson can be applied across the board, I believe, to some of the global warming claims that we see. The Earth is fragile, and the spill showed no, the Earth is not fragile. It doesn't mean that we should trash it, but when an accident did happen, in large part, nature cleaned it up. Man and BP, yes, they put a lot of effort forth in cleaning it up, but it just was not as bad as it was expected, and for the most part, things have recovered.
Now, there's always something, that the left and the environmental nutsos, whenever they fall into that category, can grab hold of, and I'll be fair, and I'll give you your ammunition, all right? They say wildlife populations have bounced back, though dolphins and oysters are the exceptions. However, you got those two, and that'll be the only two you'll hear from that group. You talk about how the flood control projects along the Mississippi, now the vegetation's growing back, erosion rates have subsided. The water, this is going to upset them, the water is clean. No excess of hydrocarbons in the region's food supply. And then I was talking to my guest yesterday, Alan Karuba, and we were talking about how they're going to be, talking about Earth Day all day today, and they've made the whole month of April, and the global warming is going to kill us all. And we said, but you're never going to hear about volcanoes, forest fires, things like that. And Alan mentioned, and also the oil that seeps from the ocean floor. And I said, I'm going to be talking about that tomorrow. And I'm telling you, do you have the report in front of you? I don't know if you have your report with you.
I do not have it in front of me. I just arrived here in Vegas. I don't have it in front of me.
All right. Marita says, it's important to realize, according to the National Research Council, every year the equivalent of 560,000 to 1.4 million barrels of oil. Did you hear that? 1.4 million barrels of oil seeps naturally from the floor of the Gulf of Mexico. 1.4 million barrels every year.
Yes, and if I recall, that's about 1/4 of the amount of oil from the Deepwater Horizon
the BP spill.
Yeah.
1/4. You're right.
So it shows you that our planet is equipped to handle this. It's natural. It comes out of the ground on its own. And there's many people who believe that, and there's data to support this, that the drilling actually cleans things up, because what it does is it releases some of that pressure underground, and so there is less seepage into the ocean naturally because of the drilling.
Now then, we keep talking about Mother Nature. Here's Ed Overton, LSU, I guess that's Louisiana State University chemist.
Yes, it is.
Yeah, and he's spent years tracking chemical changes in the deepwater oil that washed ashore. And he says, I think the big story is it's remarkable how Mother Nature can cure herself. And then, perhaps you'll recognize this name, Philippe Cousteau. He witnessed much of the spill's aftermath in 2010. But when he returned to the Gulf to dive near an oil rig last month, according to Marita's story, he was astonished by the abundance of amberjacks, hammerhead sharks, and other marine life he saw. Whoops! There goes your dolphin, for you people out,
Well,
I said they had some ammunition.
The thing about the dolphins that's important to realize, Chuck, is the dolphins and the oysters both, is that the reports indicate that their mortality, the increase in their mortality rate, the decline in the population, actually started before the accident. So, while they are continuing to decline, they were declining before the accident happened. And especially for the oysters, I think they don't really know why the dolphins are having increased mortality at this point. But with the oysters, they do know that the salinity in the water, in part from the flood from the Mississippi River, in part from, as you mentioned, the flood control work they've been doing up the Mississippi River that's changed the composition of the water, that has hurt the dolphins. The oysters.
Yeah, and let's talk about some of this positive thing as far as safety standards and things like that. The accident, according to the Journal of Petroleum Technology, you say spawned new technology, improved safety practices, better operations awareness, and some of the new technology, pressure control equipment, as well-designed standards, such as casing and cementing, and for example now, new equipment that can shear and seal joints and eliminate non-shearable sections, technology that can provide information on the wellbore environment in close to real time has been introduced. I think that's very important because I believe whenever you talk about a well-born environment, you know better than I do, but I think you had to go down and send something down to kind of say, well, what's going on down there?
Exactly.
And they would only check it ever so often. But now it's real time. apparently it's almost like now we've got a security camera. You know, they put a camera down there to show all the people, all that oil bubbling up. Didn't take them long to get that down there, did it?
No, not at all. But yeah, they've got the pressure control equipment is what they call the blowout preventer, and that was the big problem with that, or one of the problems with that spill. And they have since, they've been upgraded to be able to withstand higher pressure, which is important in the deep waters where they're drilling. And the shearing ram is important because it allows them to basically cut the pipe and seal it as they cut it. So those are just a couple. And in my column, I cite a report that offers more information. Most people don't want to know all those nuts and bolts, the nitty-gritty.
Is that the one,
stuff.
The report you're talking about, is that the one from the Center for Offshore Safety, COS?
Well, that's one of them. There are several that I used in putting together my column, and what I tried to do is to pull out of the research kind of a consumer-grade information. I didn't want people to get too lost in all the data, but I wanted to put in enough to show especially the key items that were the issue at the BP accident, that those issues have been addressed, and many, many more. The Center for Offshore Safety has issued 300 proposed improvements, and many of those from the industry are what the government has adopted. So from the people that I talked to on this, they say there has been unprecedented cooperation between government and industry on improvements for safety and drilling practices.
Where would the listeners, because you have some good links there, for example, on the one you're talking about, Center for Offshore Safety and the Journal of Petroleum Technology, where was this story posted?
Well, it's in the places you mentioned in the beginning, but Red State is always a good option to find my work. Breitbart.com is as well. They tend to do a little bit shorter version, so sometimes all the links are not in Breitbart.
But this one, redstate.com, we've got the links there, and it's redstate.com. Let's see, I had to turn the page here, and we got about a minute before the break. What was the other one I was going to mention? There was another, Gulf of Mexico Research Initiative.
Yes, with Dr. Rita Colwell.
Yeah, tell me about this one real quick.
Well, that's funded, that's part of BP's settlement, was to fund an entity simply to track what's going on and to research how things are recovering. And so that's another important entity, and they're tracking that. And like the other sources that I cite, have found that, we always, we never want to have accidents happen, and we want to do things as cleanly and efficiently as possible. We continue to learn and get better. And
it's funny. You mentioned the word accident, and you were talking about from the Gulf of Mexico Research Initiative. Well, the National Ocean Industry Association, Randall Luthi, I guess it is, Luthi.
It's Luthi, yeah, Randall Luthi.
Yeah. It's amazing because they say accident, kind of keep that in mind. It was a well accident. It was an accident. It wasn't done on purpose. We're going to continue, wrap things up in just a moment with Marita Noon, N-O-O-N. The name of her book is Energy Freedom. Go to responsibleenergy.org. Probably got a link there for the book, responsibleenergy.org. Read this article at redstate.com. We'll be back.
When you really want Italian food, you've got to go to Columbo's. Columbo's Italian Steakhouse and Jazz Club, Colorado Boulevard, Eagle Rock. Is that little neighborhood place you wish was down the street from you? It's springtime in the Southland, and the yucca filamatusa are in bloom, and so is the hunger and thirst for good times. Palate-pleasing, mouth-watering steaks, yes! Neptune's gifts of the freshest fish direct from the seven seas, oh yes! Columbo's delectable Italian family specialties that shame the competition, yes! Jazz every night, check! All at such reasonable prices, yes, yes, yes! And might I add one more yes? Thank you. Let us not forget their award-winning meatballs, oh yes! Columbo's. It's more than the stuff of urban legend. It is that good. Columbo's, because it really is that little neighborhood place you wish was down the street from you. Columbo's. Yes. Manja.
Have you ever considered adding a home security system but thought it would be too expensive? Here's the good news. There's never been a more affordable time to help protect your home, valuables, and your loved ones. You can now get a $100 Visa card from Protect Your Home, your authorized ADT dealer, with the installation of a new ADT monitored system. Here's even better news. Your new system, worth $850, is free. You pay just a $99 installation charge and purchase monthly monitoring for less than $2 a day. Call Protect Your Home today at 1-866-669-8954. That's 1-866-669-8954. Get the peace of mind that comes with owning an ADT monitored system, plus a $100 Visa card from Protect Your Home. Call now, 1-866-669-8954. That's 1-866-669-8954. 36-month monitoring contract required. General terms and conditions apply. Visit protectyourhome.com/terms.
Geico Motorcycle presents Reflections from the Road.
Let me tell you, the road is a much more relaxing place since I switched to Geico Motorcycle Insurance and started saving money. With that taken care of, now I can think about deep, important things. Like how come it's a pair of pants when there's only one of them? A real brain teaser. But hey, at least saving money with Geico Motorcycle is as easy as pie. What does that mean anyway?
Geico Motorcycle Insurance. See how much you could save.
Oh, CRN listeners, this is Michael Horn, inviting you to join me and my co-host, Sommelier Nicole Nielsen from Ruth's Chris Steakhouse, as we present What's Cooking on Wine. Find out about the latest trends in wine, great food, spirits, and a whole lot more. It's What's Cooking on Wine, done live at 6 o'clock Monday nights at Ruth's Chris Steakhouse in Pasadena, California, and then the replays throughout the weekend right here on CRN. So if you love wine and you love great food, it's What's Cooking on Wine right here on CRN.
Everybody's talking at me.
My guest, Marita Noon, and her latest book, Energy Freedom. Where's the best place to get a copy of the book, Marita?
Amazon.com.
Amazon.com. All right, that's the way to go. We've been discussing Deepwater Horizon, 5 years later, lessons learned, and seems like everything's about 95% positive, at least. And like the president of the National Ocean Industries Association told you when you wrote this, no well is worth the loss of a life, and the Moncano well accident was exactly that, an accident. We in the industry have taken the lessons learned from this in an effort to make a positive out of a very negative situation. And not only are things looking clean there, but they've learned a lot of things to prevent this from happening in the future. They took a crisis and didn't let it go to waste in the right frame of mind, I guess, other than just shut down all the drilling.
Yeah, and that's definitely true. They've put a lot of time, money, and effort into making sure that something like that never happens again. And God forbid that it does, but if there is another spill, we at least now have the lessons learned that the Mother Nature is, as I said, stronger than we tend to think she is.
And it's a lot different because you and I are very familiar with what happens in, for example, areas like the Permian Basin in West Texas, southeastern New Mexico, and whenever you have an oil well fire, for example. It's a lot different when it happens in the ocean because it's harder to stop it. But I guess they're still fighting the way Red Adair used to do it. You take nitroglycerin and you puff out all the oxygen so it can't breathe.
Well, underwater, I don't think it doesn't have a lot of flammability down there, but they definitely they've come up with techniques that work deep underwater, and there's a lot of other improvements that have gone on. I just addressed a couple of them in my column to keep it from being too overwhelming for the casual reader.
Do you think it's 50% harder to fight it in water than it is on land?
Oh, I don't know. I don't know the data, but I think an accident or a spill certainly is harder underground. You're not going to have the flames that you have on land. I mean, underwater. When you're miles underwater, the pressure and the temperatures and the equipment needed is totally different.
Yeah. You still doing the radio program every week, right?
I am, yes.
And how can the listeners check that out?
If you had the easiest is to just do a search for my name, Marita Noon, and the name of my weekly internet radio show is America's Voice for Energy. And this week it airs tomorrow at 11 a.m. Eastern Time for the first time, and then it's available a few days after that for podcast or online listening. And Charlie Williams, who is the executive director of the Center for Offshore Safety, is one of my guests on my show this week.
Well, you know what I want you to do is tell Charlie Williams that he's on my list, all right? Because, he's one of those CWs.
Oh, like Chuck Wilder,
there
Charlie
you go.
Williams.
Yeah. Hey, American Voice for Energy, 11 a.m. Eastern Time. Just like she said, Google Marita, Marita, Noon, Noon. And be sure to get a copy of her book, Energy Freedom, at Amazon.com. Real quick, Charlie Williams, was he a former country western disc jockey at one time?
No, he was not. He's been in the oil industry his whole life.
All right, then. I'll forgive him.
Hey,
thank you.
And his whole life, so thanks, Chuck.
Give Mom a hug. Don't forget, it's $5 straight up. Black 17. Okay,
all right,
you got that?
Hopefully I'll be at Bellagio for her birthday on Sunday, so I'll try to do that for you.
Yeah, and stay away because every few minutes that water will shoot up and hit you there. So happy birthday to Mom then. All right, there we go. Thank you, Marita. Look forward to the next visit. Coming up next, Joe Gazzardi, Californians for Population Stabilization National Media Director. His latest including Here Comes Sawyer and There Goes Your Job.
CRN Digital Talk Radio prides itself on being the station of every situation. And you can listen to us on nearly any platform and device. Download to your iPhone, Android, and BlackBerry episodes of What's Cookin'. And take Master Sommelier Michael Jordan with you to the wine shop so he can help you pick out that perfect bottle of wine. Stream episodes of the Sonoma Wine Report through our CRN app, TuneIn Radio, Nobex, Stitcher, UTunes, or AHA Radio, and start planning that unforgettable weekend in the wine country. They're in your corner on iHeartRadio, iTunes, and many other apps. And of course, you can always listen live through your local cable TV provider, as well as on our website at crntalk.com. For more information on where to listen to these great shows, along with many others, log on to crntalk.com and create your own listening experience today.